Hey guys, welcome back to Gideon Stuff and welcome to another Gideon Stuff adventure video. Today, we're going to try and get up there. That is Lookout Peak. We are in the Robledo Mountains. We're going to try to get to Lookout Mountain and also Robledo Peak up there. I have 3 goals today. Goal number 1, to get to the Leasburg Slot Canyon. Now this is not the slot canyon that a lot of Las Crucians think about when we think about slot canyons. I have made a video on that one. I called it the Rincon Valley Slot Canyon, and that is a little bit further down the way, closer to Hatch. This is a slot canyon I've never been to before, so this should be pretty fun. Objective number 2 is to make it to the top of Robledo Peak, which is this one right here. And objective number 3 is to maybe run over to Lookout Mountain. We'll see if I have time. We'll see what happens there. But that is the plan. I am kind of loosely following a trail from Stav is Lost. Shout out to him. He makes a lot of really useful info on things like this. And yeah, we'll see how this happens. I believe that's the slot canyon right there. We're going to try to get to it. But first, we got to deal with obstacle number 1, and that is crossing the Rio Grande. Now, it is a little bit low right now. Not as low as it could be. If I waited a couple of months and came during the winter time, it would be almost completely dried up. But I kind of wanted to do a river fording today, so we're going to see how this goes. I think we can do it. Look at that. Beautiful. Alrighty, here we go. Not too deep at all. A little bit of a tug from the current, but we're doing just fine. Oh, come up on a little sandbar. Yeah, not deep at all. I've got a couple of different videos planned out here in the Robledo Mountains. I do a lot of running around out here. Geronimo Cave, which is just to the north of me right now, is a really cool spot. I take people there all the time. Never made a Gideon Stuff adventure video about it just because I thought it wasn't worth it, but I've kind of changed my criteria for the stuff that I make into Gideon Stuff adventure videos, so I think I'm going to make one over there. The Permian Trackways, of course, to the south right here. Really, really awesome part of New Mexico's geologic history. We'll have a separate video about that too. Today we're just going to do today's just going to be a mountain climb. We're going to talk a little bit about the general geology of the area. We'll keep it simple, you know, nothing too crazy. Now here is where I think things could get a little more interesting, is on the other side of this little sandbar here. So up until this point, hasn't been too deep. Current's been very manageable. Oh, I do see people's footprints here, so people have been up and over here recently. Oh my gosh, it's disgusting. But this right here could get a little bit gnarly. And that little gap in the trees right there is what I'm heading for. So going to strap down my gear real good and let's hit it. By the way, apart from the human footprints, we've also got some sandhill cranes and raccoons. Pretty cool. All right, let's get over there. This mud is really deep and disgusting. It's very cold. Okay, so yes, that part was significantly more difficult than the first part. The current was pretty deep. Water was about chest deep. Almost got swept away a couple of times. But we did it. We did it. Oh, man. Once again, the GoPro that I have, that I never use, would have been really, really handy in this case. Oh well. Whew. Whew. I am soaked. My gear is soaked, but the sun is coming out, and we're going to be on the side of a mountain, so we should dry off pretty nicely. Tried to keep my socks and shoes dry. Succeeded with one of the shoes, but not the other. Testing the waterproof capabilities of the Olight Arcfeld right now. Yeah, here comes the sun. Yay! I guess for those of you interested, the gear for the day: off-country or off-grid knives backcountry, and Spyderco PM2 Tonto version. Woo! We've got some sediment in that pivot. Should work its way out. Dude, I need to wash my feet off. Yeah, no point. All right, we survived the 4th longest river in the Americas, and now it is time to find the entrance to the Slot Canyon. Following a little cow trail right now. Whew. And it is muddy out here. We have had some rain. It rained a little bit last night, so probably going to be a pretty wet day. We'll see. I hate mud. It's smooth and slippery and irritating, and it gets everywhere. And it makes it hard to walk when it starts sticking to your shoes. Thankfully, we're about to hit some rocky country. Oh. All right, we made it to the rocks. And I guess this is just about as good a time as any to discuss a little bit of the geology that we're going to be seeing today. Get on the right side of this fence. There we go. Whew. So we've got a lot of stuff going on here. Got some limestone, got some rhyolite, maybe some intermediate volcanics. Robledo Peak itself is Paleozoic limestones pretty much all the way to the top. Lookout Mountain has a bunch of rhyolites. You can kind of see this kind of reddish band that goes across the top. That's going to be some rhyolites. The primary lithologies out here are going to be those Paleozoic passive margin ocean sediments, primarily the Waco group, or the Waco Formation, which is Permian in age. These lower hills out here, these are going to be Cenozoic sediments, very recent Rio Grande River sediments. So this is going to be stuff like our Popatosa Formation, our Camp Rice, Santa Fe group sediments. And then, of course, we have this big rhyolite that goes across, kind of like almost looks like a Nike symbol, kind of goes like, whoa, across. Yeah, these big buff cliffs down here, that's going to be some of that Santa Fe group. In fact, that little cliff right there going that way. You walk that trail to get to Geronimo Cave. The slot canyon we're going to be going through is going to be in our Santa Fe group, sediments, and the entire mountain range is a fault block mountain range. The East Robledo Fault is a huge normal fault that runs along the eastern side of the Robledo Mountains. It's very, very important. There's a great exposure of it out near Geronimo Cave, actually, so when we do that video, I'll point that out. And what else do I want to say? Yeah, I guess the fault, of course, Rio Grande Rift. We all know it, we love it. We're going to be on the western flank of the rift here in the Robledos. And yeah, we talked about the Rio Grande Rift a lot. Anything else I see that I decide is interesting geology, I'll bring up when I see it. We're about to come into the mouth of the Slot Canyon. Got a bunch of cairns built here, marking the way. You can kind of see there's a little bit of a loose path through here. All these loose rocks here, this is all debris that washes out of the Slot Canyon during big rainstorms, flash floods. We'll see that a lot of these rock types, I would bet, like I'm noticing some intermediate volcanic rocks. I bet we don't see any outcrop of those rocks here in the Robledos, but we will see clasts of those rock units in the walls of the Slot Canyon. And so this is stuff that was eroded, 5 million years ago, became cemented in the conglomerate that makes up this canyon. And now, in the present day, that canyon is being eroded out and pieces of those rocks are being washed down here. Alrighty, now we are entering the Slot Canyon for realsies. I'm really curious to see what this is like. I've seen photos of the inside of this canyon, but photos, they very rarely capture the feeling of a place, right? So I'm really curious to compare this to the more famous Slot Canyon in the area. Right away, I might actually, just first impressions, I might actually like this one better. This entry is really freaking cool. You see, here's a conglomerate with a lot of clasts of rocks that probably aren't exposed out here. Maybe because they were completely eroded away, or because these clasts were carried for some time. Whew. So it is a little more jumbly on the ground. We've got a lot more loose talus. And what would be cool waterfalls in a rainstorm. Yeah, this canyon definitely has a more wild feeling than the other one. Oh, that's dope. Just a little fin of conglomerate right here. Oh man. Didn't mean to stop recording. Meant to take a picture. Yum. Is that a oh shit. That is a juvenile javelina. At first I thought, oh, is that a raccoon? No. It's a juvenile javelina. I find a lot of dead javelinas. I'm very, very good at that. Oh, this is so dope. Wow. All right, yeah. Yeah, I like this canyon better. Oh, man. Oh. That is stunning. Only downside is all this shade is going to mean my clothes take longer to dry. This is insane. I can't believe I've never been back here before. I feel like we're getting close to the top. As we've been walking through this, of course, we've been steadily gaining elevation. Holy crap! Never mind, I stand corrected. This goes on way longer than I was anticipating. I am not complaining though. Oh my goodness. Holy shit. I'm not sure how much of this footage I'll cut out. I know I'm not providing much commentary, but honestly, this kind of speaks for itself. Ouch. Little bitch. Oh, there's a big old bee. That's cool. I love withered, dead trees in the desert like this. Okay, now I feel like a couple more turns and we'll be at the top. But I could be wrong. It is known to happen. All right, so we can see Robledo Peak starting to peek out at us ahead. Wow, this is gorgeous. This is absolutely phenomenal. Good look at the Donianas back there. So as you can see, this side of Robledo Peak is rather steep, with lots of limestone shelves and cliffs. Now, I think we got a couple of ways to deal with this. Number one, I could just climb it. Doesn't look like I'll need any gear that I don't have, so we could just climb it. Or we could walk around and come up from the south. And there is a series of roads that get on top of the Robledos from the south, kind of the southwest. Maybe we could try walking around till we hit one of those. I don't know, we'll see. Wow, that is kind of cool. Look how that rock's eroded. We'll see. We'll see how I feel when I actually make it out of here. Whoa! Whoa! Holy crap! Look at this travertine. That is gorgeous. Holy smokes. Huh. Looks like there's another little bit of it up there. Wow. Wow. That is phenomenally gorgeous. Oh, look, there's a little piece of it. Maybe that little piece gonna have to come home with me. I think so. Huh. Yeah, we got all kinds of cool calcite and travertine stuff going on in here. That's gorgeous. Okay, yeah. This is dope. Really awesome cave up there. We're not gonna go explore it right now. This is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. All right, so we got a little bit of something going on here. About to pass through this, what looks like an awesome canyon. At my feet right now, we have rhyolite. And this is outcrop. Right here we have some limestone boulders, but this is float that has fallen down from up higher. This right here, this is the bedrock of this little canyon, and it is the rhyolite that I was telling you guys about. So I have a feeling that we're gonna lose the rhyolite here, probably past this gap a little ways, but we'll see it again if I make it over to Lookout Peak. I'm kind of wasting time just enjoying myself here, so we'll see what my day looks like. If I decide to climb up the east face of the Robledos, that's also going to take a lot of time, so I haven't decided if I'm going to do that or not. Hey, buddy. Oh, this is wonderful. Man, this is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Still our rhyolites, of course. Rhyolite is the extrusive form of granitic composition magma. So if this had cooled underground in a magma chamber instead of being erupted from a volcano, this rock here would have been a granite. The rhyolite got here from, oh look, there's a buzzard. Anyways, the rhyolite got here through Rio Grande Rift volcanics. The same process that led to the uplifting of all the Paleozoic rocks out here also created a lot of volcanism that erupted much younger volcanic rocks on top and in them. Okay, let's see what we got here. This might be something where I have to do a little bit of root finding. That might be the way out. Right there. Yeah. Yeah, not today. We're not going to climb that today. But I kind of want to. Still though, we'll take this. We'll take this up and out. All right, so here we have something really cool. Look at the tree roots growing through this rock. This is our rhyolite still. And you can see how it's cracking and splitting the rock. Something that a lot of lay people often overlook or don't take into consideration about erosion is the biological aspect of it. And yeah, organisms contribute massively to the sedimentary cycle. You can have examples like this, where this tree roots is eventually going to cause this whole kind of section of the rock to fall off. You can also have examples of animals burrowing, you know, displacing sediment like that, breaking down rocks. It's really, really incredible. And so when people talk about, the pillars of erosion, yeah, fluids, gravity, those are the big ones, but you can't discount the biological factor. All right, I gotta stopping every 5 steps to record some video, or I'm never going to get up this mountain. But I do see something here that's really cool. This is a fault between there and there. You can see fault breccia or cataclastic rocks. It's this kind of pinkish, powdery, kind of crumbly looking rock here between this kind of more pristine looking rhyolite and this rhyolite over here that's a little more weathered and stuff. That right there is a fault. This is a normal fault. So we're going to be having the hanging wall drop towards the east, down towards the river, and the footwall here is being pushed up. So is this the East Robledo fault? I don't know. It could be. I don't know if this is the main scarp of the East Robledo fault or if this is a conjugate fault coming off of it, but it is a fault nonetheless. Alrighty, so let's take a little bit of a break and do some more in-depth discussion on the geology and history of the Robledo Mountains. First of all, why are they called the Robledo Mountains? Well, they're named for a guy named Pedro Robledo, who was the very first casualty of the Oñate expedition. He died on May 21st, 1598, and was buried somewhere near the Robledo Mountains. He was originally from Toledo, Spain, and unfortunately, he was accompanied by his wife and 5 children on this expedition. And I don't know what happened to them after his passing, but I hope they were okay. All right, moving away from Spanish colonization, let's go on to a happier topic, and that is structural geology. The Robledo Mountains are a Horst and Graben system. The Robledo Mountains are obviously the Horst, and they're related to Rio Grande rifting, basin and range extension, etc., etc., etc. The Robledo Mountains are bounded by 2 major faults. On the east side is the East Robledo's fault, and on the west side is the West Robledo's fault. Really cooking with those names. On the east side of the fault is the Mesilla Valley. On the west side is a rather large plain that stretches between the Robledos and the Rough and Ready's and Magdalena mountains. That is a largely undeformed section of the Rio Grande Rift Valley. Well, I don't know if I'd say undeformed. I should say it's flat and undissected, so there's not many like stream channels cutting through it like you see on the eastern side. Now, the fault block for the Robledos tilts to the south about 10 to 15 degrees. So we have it being pushed up above the valleys on either side by these big faults, and the entire block is kind of tilting to the south. It's kind of a wedge shape. Why is it tilting to the south? This could be because of some ductile deformation resulting from the heat of the faulting processes, heat from geothermal flows. This is a part of the Earth's crust that is a lot thinner than other places, so the geothermal gradient is a little bit closer or a little bit lower. And so some of this high heat environment has led to folding in these mountains, and this has probably also led to it kind of sloping to the south. We're not going to talk too much about the folds in the mountains. We're going to talk mainly about the faults. If I'm standing on the shores of the Rio Grande and I'm looking out towards the Robledos to my west, I like to split the mountains into 3 different parts. The Robledos are fairly complex, structurally speaking, so we're going to simplify things a lot right here, but I think this will be sufficient for today's conversation. The 3 areas I like to split the Robledos into are the high peaks, the middle peaks, and the foothills. The high peaks and the middle peaks kind of have the same lithology, so let's go ahead and talk about them first. The very top of the high peaks, these are going to be the high points like Robledo Peak and Lookout Mountain. The very tops have a little kind of covering of rhyolite, but below that rhyolite cap is mostly large Paleozoic sedimentary rock cliffs. There are Pennsylvanian rocks in the Robledos, but most of it is Permian and most of it is the Hueco group. several different formations and members are in that group, but most of the limestones and other Paleozoic rocks you're going to see in the Robledos are part of the Waco group. The lower peaks are some of the high points that, if you're looking straight on to the mountain, you might not even be able to tell are there because they kind of blend into what's behind them. But what separates the middle peaks from the high peaks is the East Robledo Fault, which has dropped a huge section of the mountain down a little bit. And so these lower peaks have a lot of rhyolite in them, but they also have some of those Paleozoic rocks that we see at the foot of the higher peaks. And then the foothills are made up of more recent Cenozoic, alluvium, and sedimentary rocks. So this would include like areas like the Slot Canyon that I walked through, conglomerates and sandstones and gravels that were deposited primarily by the ancestral Rio Grande. This is all going to be basin fill sediment. These sediments were eroded from the volcanic rocks and Paleozoic rocks, making up the bedrock of the Robledo Mountains. Again, this is a very simplified overview of these mountains, but I think it'll do for the purposes of today's discussion. We're going to see all the different rocks that I just named. We're going to see those basin fill sediments. We see the Paleozoic ocean sediments, and we also see the more recent Miocene and Miocene, Oligocene volcanic rocks. There are a multitude of different rock units out here. Some of the rhyolites come from different eruptions and are different ages. The Palm Park Formation, which is a 40 million year old andesite, is also out here in the Robledos, but we don't see it on this particular hike. The Robledos are pretty complex, geologically speaking, but I hope this gives you at least a little bit of an understanding of their history now. All right, so we made it to the top. A little bit of a look out here. There's the Doñanas, San Andres, Point of Rocks way out there. There's Lookout Peak. And there's Robledo Peak. I think we're going to go to the top of this little hill here and decide which route I want to take up. You know, it has been a while since I've done an adventure like this. Just walking out into the desert, just kind of bushwhacking. Most of the stuff that I've done so far this summer has been at national or state parks that have like really nice, well-maintained, flat trails. It's like, ooh, this is so easy. This is what I love, though. Something that's a little more adventurous, something that's a little more off the books. So it's probably been, I don't know, a month or so since I've done an adventure like this. And yeah, you know, I'm definitely feeling it. But that's why it's good to get back out here and do it again. I'm setting a pretty hard pace for myself. It took me, from the time I parked my truck to here, it's been about an hour. So I've been, you know, trucking along. And it feels good. It feels real good, you know. Go outside, get active. My biggest fear well, maybe not my biggest, but something I really do fear is something happening to my body to the point where I can't come out and do stuff like this anymore. You know, I'm not a gym bro. I'm not a fitness guru or anything like that, but I like to keep myself in shape enough that I can come in and do the things that I enjoy doing, because this is what life's all about. Alrighty, so there's a big shelf down there that we were at. I've decided not to climb straight up. I think for the sake of time, I'm going to take basically this thing there and to the top. We'll see if that works out. There might be some obstacles that I can't identify from here. So right now, we're still walking all over the rhyolite. Now this rhyolite is going to be less than 30 million years old. I'm not sure exactly how old this rhyolite is. Less than 30 million. These limestones out here, these are about 280 million years old. So normally, remember our principles of stratigraphy, younger rocks sit on top of older rocks. Well, in this case, the older rocks are way up high, the younger rocks are way down here. What does that mean? Well, it means that we've got a fault in here. We've already talked about the East Robledo Fault. Now, I can see limestones right there. We're about to cross out of the rhyolites and into the limestones. So maybe we'll see some fault signs. But basically with a normal fault, you drop down the younger units and you push up the older units. And so that's why we see what we see right here. Rhyolite that looks pretty fucked up. And boom, limestone, baby. And it's gonna be limestone the rest of the way to the top. Alrighty, well, we're getting there. I'm glad I came this way, actually. It's been really fast, very, like easy. Not a whole lot of scrambling or anything. The way I wanted to come, I don't think would have been difficult. Kind of up this slope right here, kind of climbing through the ridges and then walking through the slopes, but it definitely would have been way more time consuming. I would have really had to do a lot more trail picking. But this is this is beautiful up here. Something I love about climbing mountains is getting a different perspective on an area that you're otherwise very familiar with. Right now I'm sitting here and I'm kind of admiring the Doñanas. That's these mountains out here. And the Doñanas are really weird to me because they're incredibly rugged. I've done some running around out there. I made a couple videos out there. Super rugged. You can see from here, lots of sharp spires and steep slopes. And they are kind of the smallest. In fact, they are the smallest of the Las Cruces mountain ranges, the Organs, the Robledos, Doñanas, the San Andres. I guess you could throw in maybe the Portrillos, be kind of in the same ballpark. But from this perspective, you can see how big they are. I mean, there's I-25 down there. We see cars and trucks going by, and you can see the relief. You can see how high these mountains stand above the valley floor. And sometimes, like when you're driving through town, when you're driving on I-25, they seem smaller. They seem more like hills than mountains. But you get up to this perspective, you can tell, oh yeah, those are mountains. They're smaller than the other ones around, but they are mountains. Don't know why I thought that was interesting enough to share, but I did. Alright, so I ended up doing a little bit of rock climbing and scrambling anyways. Got a little bit more ahead of me here. There's Robledo, there's Lookout. One thing that you got to be careful about with limestone is that it can weather into very sharp and jagged bits, and it can cut you up pretty bad. There is nothing, nothing worse for a good pair of hiking boots than eroded limestone surfaces. Trust me, I know from experience. It will tear you up. Alrighty, so for the first time today, we get a look to the west side of the Robledos. Well, right now we're kind of looking more south. There's Picacho Peak. Out here in these hills between us and Picacho Peak is the Prehistoric Trackways National Monument. There's the Portrillos out there. This canyon is absolutely gorgeous. And we can see Paleozoic ocean sediments stretching almost as far as the eye can see. It's everywhere. All right, so this is probably going to be the funnest part today. Cross this gap and climb up that rock face, and then we'll pretty much be there. So, I mean, not pretty much. It'll be a little bit of a walk still, but you know what I mean. All right, let's do it. Alrighty guys, we are nearing the summit, and here on top we've got limestone and rhyolite, which is pretty cool and almost in equal numbers. Here we are. Oh man. There's a marker. Let's go ahead and sign the log. Got a really good notebook here for the peak log, right in the rain. That's one of the better ones I've seen. A lot of times it's just some random, you know, Dollar Tree notebook. Oh, it is gorgeous up here. All right, so I decided that we're probably not going to do Lookout Peak today. We've got some clouds coming in. It's supposed to start storming here in a little bit, and I don't want to be caught up here in a rainstorm. I especially don't want to be caught going down there or trying to get across the river again during a rainstorm. So I think we're gonna go ahead and call it here. It's only 1 o'clock, but let's go ahead and we'll head back down. This peak has been bagged. Great view of the Mesilla Valley. So right up here at the top of Robledo Peak, we've got Cenozoic rhyolites sitting on top of Paleozoic limestones. And those limestones were deposited in shallow seaways. So, how did the bottom of an ocean end up 8,000 feet above sea level? Well, tectonics, my favorite thing ever. You see, millions of years after these were first deposited, they were buried. They were sitting in the subsurface for a long, long time. During the age of the dinosaurs, the Mesozoic, this area was marine again at certain times. It was terrestrial at certain times. Both those environments were depositing all kinds of different sediments. River sediments, sand dune sediments, ocean sediments, all kind of awesome stuff. And those were all stacking up on top of these Paleozoic rocks. Well, throughout this part of New Mexico, two big tectonic events took place that would have exposed these rocks: the Laramide orogeny and the Rio Grande Rift. In the case of the Robledo Mountains, the Rio Grande Rift is the main culprit here. All this faulting from crustal extension popped these rocks up. Now, on top of these rocks sat our Mesozoic rocks, but those were eroded away as these rocks were uplifted. If we go south towards Sunland Park, there's some Cretaceous rocks exposed. There's actually some fossil trackways down there from the Cretaceous. If we go north to like Point of Rocks, we've got this big flat basin, and we've got all kinds of young volcanics. But if we drill down through those volcanics, we find Cretaceous aged rocks. So a lot of the Cretaceous and Mesozoic rocks are still out here. They're just buried. And in the places where they're not exposed, it's because, or in the places where they should be exposed and they're not, it's because they were eroded away. And the stuff that was underneath them was allowed to pop out. So we're just off the slope of Robledo Peak. We've got some limestone cropping out here. This is outcrop, this is bedrock. And we can see that the talus on top of it is rhyolite. If we look up there, you see that little ridge there? That is rhyolite. And then on top of that rhyolite, we kind of erode down a little bit flat, and we have some limestone popping up underneath rhyolite talus and float. That's because, yeah, the younger rhyolite was erupted on top of these older Paleozoic rocks. But when the East Robledo Fault kicked off, you can see how much displacement we have. All this reddish stuff down there, that's rhyolites that's been dropped. And you can see there's a little bit of a twist, and the rhyolites go onto the top of Lookout Peak, which, see right there, we can see limestone cliffs sitting underneath the rhyolites. Yeah, thunder's cracking off. I think I'm making the right choice. We weren't supposed to have any rainstorms move in until 4, but looks like they're going to be a little bit early. So it is what it is, I suppose. So right now we can actually see a cloudburst just across the valley from me where it's raining pretty good. It's moving over here pretty quick. I'm going to sit here for a second, let it go over me and pass, and then we will continue our journey. Alright, so here's something to talk about. I made a short about this, but I took a fall. Coming back down this fault scarp that we were looking at the first time, some of this loose rock under me gave way and I took a tumble. And you can hear all that loose rock. I am really trying to get my breath back. Hit my kidneys pretty good. I hurt bad all over. Hurt my left leg pretty good. It's not broken, maybe sprained. Got some cuts and scrapes and bruises. Oh shit. Oh, that hurts. But I've got service right here. I'll lose service when I get down the canyon, but I've got service right here. I've talked to some people. We're trying to make it back to the truck. It's not that far. That storm rolling in. You can hear that thunder. Storm rolling in has got me a little more nervous right now. And, oh, fuck. And that river crossing is going to be significantly more difficult now. Nothing's broken. I checked ribs, checked all the limbs. I just hurt like some bitch. Ah, fuck. A little bit lightheaded, just I think because of pain. I probably fell, like I bounced and I probably bounced down about 20 feet or so. All right. Okay. Might be the last video I record for a little bit, but it's good to kind of talk about this kind of stuff. Just to, you know, shit happens on adventures, and so sometimes you gotta talk about that. Okay, it's here that I want to cut in and let you guys know that when I took that little tumble down that fault scarp, I bumped my head at some point. I didn't realize it out there, but I realized after I went to the ER that I had a concussion. So, as you're watching the rest of this video, keep in mind that you are going to be listening to the ramblings of a concussed man. When I was going back and watching some of this footage after the fact, I realized that there are so many times where I'm like slurring my words and just like drifting out of thought. And it's kind of funny, so I'm gonna leave it all in. But keep that in mind. I'm gonna be rambling about a couple of different things throughout the rest of the video. I say some stuff that's true, but also I say some pretty just nonsensical things because I am concussed. So just keep that in mind. So I made it off of the fault. I think I've got a goose egg on the back of my head. Oh, shit. Made it off the fault. Now, when you're doing a self-rescue like this, my breath is mostly back, but not really. I feel like I got hit by a fucking truck. Oh, shit. When you're doing a self-rescue, the reason I'm doing a self-rescue right now, I guess, is because, like this slot canyon, I just take this and I'm basically out of the woods. I think I can make it again, like I've got control of my mental faculties, or at least I think I do. And at this point, I think if I can at least make it down to the river, if I need someone to come and get me, they can do it then. But this is the hardest part. I am kind of nervous about the river crossing. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be black and blue. And actually, I think I might have broken a bone. I think I might have broke a toe or two, because my pinky toe and the one next to it on my left foot are killing me right now. And I can feel that they're swelling up and taking up a lot of space in my shoe. I mean, all things considered, a couple of broken toes is not bad. That was a bad fall. It was a bad fall. Honestly, it should have been worse. I don't know. But, oh, shit. It's just going to be slow going. Anyways, I'm in contact with people. The way back to my vehicle is very straightforward, so I think a self-rescue is 100% doable. I'm walking like, I'm not too compromised. I hurt, but I'm moving. And so that's... Oh, shit. They were probably not going to record much more video. It's just going to turn into me saying, oh, shit, over and over again. So I'll let you guys know when I get to the bottom. All right, we made it out of the slot canyon. Storm didn't hit. It is raining out in the Oregons, though, and it's not looking too good back there. I cannot get this ear to pop. But yeah, at least we didn't get caught in the canyon and flash flooded. That would have sucked. Yeah, I liked coming through the canyon. I thought the scenery was better coming, from the back. Scenery is better from the back. I don't know why I said that. Felt a little more difficult. That might be just because, I'm going slow and I'm in pain. But we're almost to the river. This could be interesting. Very, very interesting. I got off the trail. There we go. I was actually looking forward to the river crossing on the way back, getting in the cool water. But now I am so hurtful and weak that fighting that current takes some strength, especially when you're trying to pack all your gear. We'll see what happens. I always like to remain optimistic. So, important part for self-rescue. Remain optimistic. Keep your hopes up. And it's not like this was an extreme self-rescue or anything like that. You know? But never do a self-rescue, or never attempt a self-rescue in a more extreme scenario. You know, maybe you're further away from your vehicle and or civilization. Fuck. Maybe you're hurt worse. Whatever the case, you know, if the situation's too bad, don't do a self-rescue. All right. Damn these rocks. These are not feeling good for any part of me. All right, here's where things get fun. My truck is on that other bank. I can actually see it through the reeds. But the river has risen with the rains up north, and it is going considerably faster now than it was when I was first here. This morning, the current was, you know, pushing me, getting me a good run for my money. You know, I had to work pretty hard to get through it. And that was me at 100%. I'm not at 100% right now. And that current is looking nasty. So now, I gotta do some thinking and make some decisions. I'm gonna take my shoes off and check my toes right now though, because they hurt like a bitch. Well, I've definitely got cuts and scrapes. And that pinky toe does not look good. That is super red and swollen. Don't know what to do, guys. Well, guys, in an unprecedented move of intelligence, I have decided not to cross the river. That thing is going way too damn fast. I am cut up all over. And sunburned, too. We're going to walk 4 miles to Radiant Springs. And I've got a friend who will pick me up at the bridge and take me to my truck from there. We're going to follow this old road here, the Rocky Acres Trail. We're going to be crossing some private land. Sorry, landowners. I'm starving. Stressful situations, pain, makes you hurt. But, yeah, that storm's going to hit any minute now. It's already raining in Las Cruces according to my contacts. So, we're not going to risk getting swept away by the current. If I was at 100%, I probably would have just gone through and done it. Again, it was deeper, it's running faster, but I think I would have been able to swim across at 100%. But I'm still hurting. I'm still weak. Just did a strenuous hike. And yeah, I'm starving. I ate my lunch and my granola bar at the top of the mountain. Because I'm a dumbass. I thought I'd be to the bottom within an hour 15. That didn't happen. So, cannot unplug this here. I think I'm going to go to the ER and get checked for concussion because I've got a headache coming on and I do think I hit my head. So, hi cows. We'll see. Is it inconvenient to walk an hour and a half instead of just crossing the river to where my truck is? Yes. But I'd rather not risk it, right? The Rio Grande claims too many lives. La Llorona can't have me. Well, here's the rain. We're almost to that bridge. I would have been home by now if it wasn't for these misadventures. I would have been home a long ass time ago. Oh, still hurts. Now my shoes are all covered in mud. Makes walking difficult. Whew. There's a good crack of lightning. Okay, so let's talk right now about what you guys should learn from this video. What I did wrong, what I did right, and everything in between. So, number one, the Rio Grande. This was This, in fact, I'm going to say is the one mistake that I made. Crossing the Rio Grande during monsoon season, probably not a good idea. Probably not a good idea. The Rio Grande is an incredibly unpredictable river, especially in southern New Mexico. It can go from a trickle of a stream to a roaring river overnight. There are places on the Rio Grande that I know that are 75 yards across, only 75 yards across. But one side of the shore is like 8 inches deep max, and the other side of the shore is 15 feet deep. So it is a unpredictable river. Crossing it during monsoon season adds another level of unpredictability. Again, my crossing in the morning was completely fine. It was what I was expecting. It was a little bit strenuous, but nothing too bad. When I got back and it had, increased in current flow and also risen a couple of inches, I still would have been able to make it across if I was at 100%. I'm a pretty strong swimmer. Even with my backpack and gear, it would have been a little bit tricky, but I would have gone across no problem. But in my weakened state, that was not going to happen. So even though my truck was just a stone's throw away, I could not get to it. So that was probably a big mistake that I made, was not waiting for like the winter time when the river would be basically dry to do this adventure. Again, if I hadn't taken a little tumble, it wouldn't have been that big of an issue, but that's definitely something that, I probably shouldn't have tried to deal with anyways. All right, some things that I did right. People knew where I was. If you're going to be going on an adventure by yourself, I don't recommend doing it all the time, but if you're going to, let people know where you are. Let them know when you're going to be back, when to expect you by, and if you're not back by then, send the cavalry after you. And make sure that you have communication equipment and things like that. On this particular adventure, this was not a huge deal. Okay, I want to make that very, very clear. This could have been way worse. I was not seriously injured. I was very close to civilization. People knew where I was. People knew when to expect me by. I had excellent communication with people. In fact, I had cell phone service for pretty much the entire hike, other than when I was in the Slot Canyon. And civilization was just like right there. Like I was not in like a whole lot of danger. This was not a bad situation, but I think it's a good opportunity to teach you guys, or maybe not teach you guys something, but to discuss some things, maybe go over some do's and don'ts. People knew where I was. People knew when to expect me by. When I did hurt myself, I was able to contact people immediately. Sometimes if you have like a Garmin, an SOS device or something like that, it can take, sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error to get a hold of people. I was able to get a hold of people immediately and tell them, hey, this is what's up. And that's what I did. I told them, hey, this is what's up. I'm probably going to be slowed down because I hurt, which means that I'm not going to be back by the time I said I was going to be back, but I'll keep in touch and let you guys know what happened. And I think that's the right thing to do, right? You want to keep people informed on your condition. Next thing, this actually might have been another mistake I made. When I took the fall, shit happens, honestly. Like shit just happens. Sometimes you can't predict things. No matter how skilled of an adventurer you are, no matter how prepared you are, sometimes things just happen. So when I was coming down that fault scarp, I stepped on a rock that gave way, and I fell. I was maybe in a little bit of a hurry because I was trying to outrun the rain. Did that make me, was I a little bit less careful in my rush? Maybe. I don't know. It could also just be that I stepped on a rock that just wasn't solid. And sometimes you can't predict these kind of things. And so I took a fall. You want to be aware of your surroundings and stuff, but sometimes shit just happens. And so rather than, obviously prevention is better than a cure, and that applies to a whole lot of situations. But when you're going to be out hiking in the wilderness, out in the desert and stuff, there are sometimes some things that you just can't plan for, or some things that you can't predict. Let's say you can't predict a couple of things. But then when things happen, it's how you respond to it that matters. For me, the most important thing in responding to a bad situation is staying upbeat and optimistic. I told the story in another video. In fact, we have footage from this in another video I released a few months ago. About a year ago, actually. Last year, I was doing some exploring in a mine, and there was a collapse. Not in the tunnel. It was I'd come down an inclined shaft, and there was a collapse on the outside that made it so that I could not climb out of this mine easily, at least, because I did end up climbing out of the mine. But in that situation, I had someone with me, so that was a huge help, and I stayed optimistic. The other person that was with me took pictures. I'm smiling. I think that's really important. You gotta stay optimistic. You gotta stay upbeat. If shit goes sideways, you can't start having a doomy outlook, a doomy, gloomy outlook on life. And the other thing is make a decision and act on it. Second guessing and overthinking, I think, is detrimental in a lot of situations because it wastes time. And again, a lot of times overthinking leads to negative thoughts. So for example, in the case of this mine collapse, I took some time to gather my thoughts, take some deep breaths, staying positive. I looked at my situation and I made a plan. I said, okay, I'm going to try to jump onto that rock there and immediately jump to this over here where I think I can grab that rock, pull myself up and climb. I mapped that out in my mind and I decided to just act on it and do it. And there have been situations where you see something, you're like, okay, and you just do it and it doesn't work. But that's okay. If it doesn't work, you sit back, you try again. When you come up with another idea, you do it. And in the case of the mine, I was able to climb out on actually, I think it was my second try. I think my first try, my first plan didn't work, but my second try, I was able to get out. Same thing with this Robledo Peaks area. After I felt I was in so much pain, but I sat there, I took some deep breaths, just kind of assessed my situation, called my people, let them know what happened, and then I made a plan. My plan was get up, get off this fault scarp, get through the canyon, and to the river. That was my plan. And so I did. And of course, in this situation, not a super complicated plan, right? But taking action is important. You can't be indecisive in a situation like this. Next thing, when I got to the river and I saw that it was too high, I'm glad that I was able to be cognizant enough to make the decision that, yeah, I cannot do this in my current state. That is an important thing to be able to do as well. When you're assessing a situation, be honest with yourself about what you can and can't do. Be honest about your abilities. And then when you make a decision, go for it. And so in this case, my decision was I'm going to walk to this bridge. There's a little bit of debate. There was one bridge to my south. There's another bridge to my north. And there was a little bit of debate which one I should go to. I eventually decided to go to the one to the north. But again, you make a plan. You execute your plan. You go from there. So the other thing that I want to point out too is, I already mentioned this, but shit happens. I do stuff like this all the time. All the time, right? Taking a fall, getting bit by a rattlesnake, any other kind of injury, it's always a risk. It's always a risk. And you just got to be ready to handle it. And handling is what's more important in situations like this. So, yeah, I hope you guys learned something from all of this. All right, guys. So Janelle came and picked me up because she's a goat. I walked about 4 miles from the river to this bridge where she came pick me up and then took me to my vehicle. Go. I'm gonna go get checked out at the ER. We'll see what happens. I am a little bit sunburned. I have no idea what my back looks like. It feels rough. Got some bruising on my arm. I'll be honest, you can see I've got bruising on my arm, and there's some like scratches and stuff. You can see my hands are kind of pocked up. But I'm actually shocked that I don't have more going on my hands or anything, because I did use my arms and hands to stop myself when I was falling. So I am kind of shocked that they're not cut up more. When I say fall, it's not like I just like free fell, right? I stepped on some rock that gave way, that fault breccia, and I fell, but then I kind of like tumbled and slid down the mountain. So most of the damage is on my back and my butt. I can feel some pretty serious bruises down there. Might have conked my head. So we're gonna go get checked out. My legs, yeah, I feel like, you know, I've got a twisted ankle. That doesn't feel too good. I don't think it's serious. And then those toes, I think one of them at least is probably broken. We'll go get that figured out. Kind of a weird injury to me, but it does hurt quite a bit. So I guess that's that. So if I do get pictures of my injuries, I will throw them up. See the scratch? It looks like I got like MT on my back. And if I bend over, yeah, you can see that bruise really good. That was one of the kidney hits that really hurt. The lighting's just not that great. Yeah, you can see this bruise here. This one right here is going to hurt a lot. I imagine more of them are going to show up as time goes. Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to have a bunch showing. There's also a big one right here you can't really see because of the light, because I'm so freaking pale, but oh, there's a pretty good one right there. Yeah, on the screen right here so you guys can see that, but it's not serious, right? We're fine, just some pain, some bumps and bruises. All right, that's gonna be where I leave this video. Thank you guys for watching. Big shout out to my channel members here at the Cowboy level. I appreciate everything they do for the channel. If you want to become a member and get access to exclusive perks, there's a link down below. As for the rest of you hooligans, if you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon. I'll see you in the next one.